when I went to hear Alan Dershowitz speak at Harvard Hillel at 19. And I actually do not remember any part of his talk, other than that he's a very sharp and impressive man. What I do remember was a young man in the Q&A raising his hand and introducing himself as Rabbi, a Palestinian from Ramallah. And I don't remember his question either. But what I distinctly remember was eye-rolling and tension that filled the room and smirks as Alan Dershowitz does what he does best, which is kind of win an argument, to debate him. And I had an epiphany in that moment that I too had been trained to win arguments, but that I hadn't been or allowed myself to really hear and truly engage with the kind of spirit of inquiry that I brought to every other dimension of my life. So I, of course, thought that this was a very unique phenomenon, not knowing that I was in fact a caricature of my generation. Years later, I found my story as one more data point in studies. We rarely, I suppose, in our defining moments know we are sociological phenomena. But I want to say now a few words about what those studies indicate. Because Weintraub, despite all the brouhaha that he caused, was actually joining a conversation, and I think he mischaracterized that research a bit. The study that he starts out his article with is a study that was put out by the Andrea and Charles Bronfman Philanthropies a few years ago, and I think that they've really captured not whether young Jews are distancing from Israel, but why. So why? They found two related reasons. Number one, they found the majority of young Jews want an education that exposes them to a multiplicity of perspectives rather than black and white us and them thinking. And number two, young Jews want open and welcoming settings for conversation in which to explore and decide for themselves what they think, not be spoon-fed in a heavy-handed way. The way that I read this study, and this is different than the way that Weintraub characterized it, is that the issue for young Jews is not actually politics, but politicization. As we like to say at Encounter, they were actually craving a non-politicized education about core political issues. That is, they wanted a sophisticated educational framework that would expose them to multiple points of view without mandating what they think, that would support their independent exploration and robust, frank, candid dialogue, to use the terms of Bob. They weren't wishing that Israel advocacy organizations offered more liberal or Palestinian-sympathetic political positions. They were rejecting protectionist messaging, not because they wanted to criticize Israel, but because they were critical of shutting down conversation, inquiry, and honest grappling with hard questions. So the bad news for us is that the research shows that, like me walking away from Hillel at 19, and I really have a sense of there, but for the grace of God go I, many young Jews are not only disengaging from Israel, they're actually walking away from the Jewish community altogether because of the way the Jewish community is and isn't talking about Israel. Encounter was created as a response to these findings, and I'm really looking forward, I think, in the next question, beginning to share more about how we go about creating conversation about the most difficult dimensions of the conflict with honesty and skill and compassion towards all sides.
Thank you very much. And now